Hello everybody and welcome back. In this video we are going to be focusing towards replacing the text widget that we are right now returning for the container child that's being returned as a widget for our item builder function inside of our ListView builder for our messages ListView. So essentially what we'd like to do is that we'd like to create a reusable widget that is going to allow us to render our messages in a beautiful fashion inside of our ListView, somewhat similar to how they are shown in the completed version of our application, which I'll show to you right now. And that's these kind of sweet bubbles that have some different colors depending on who sent the message and some time as well. So now that that is done, let's get into it and let's see how we're going to be doing it. So first thing first, what we're going to do is that we're going to close our database service file, and I'm going to also close my chat provider file. And then what I'm going to do is that I am going to go to my widgets file, and inside of my widgets file, I'm going to go to our custom ListView tiles file. And our custom ListView tiles file is where we're going to be adding our custom chat ListView tile class. So our custom chat ListView tile class is going to be the name for our class, which is going to be responsible for rendering this bubble texts. So I'm going to navigate back to the application that we're building, and then I'm going to create a new class inside of this file, and I'm going to call this class our custom chat ListView tile. And then I'm going to say that it extends a stateless widget. With this, I'm going to open the class definition up. And the first thing that I'll do is that I'll define some properties for the class, which will be the width, which will be of type double and be final. I'll also do final double, and then I'll do devices height. So with this, I'm also going to do final and then a Boolean value of is it our own message that we send this message or did somebody else send it. Then I'll also have a final chat message, and then I'm going to say this is going to be the message, and then I'm also going to have a final, and then I'll have chat user, and then I'll call this sender, so who sent the message. With this, I'm going to create the constructor for our class, so that's going to be custom chat ListView tile, and with this I'll open up the constructor and add the curly brackets to indicate named arguments being passed to this constructor. I'm going to say that we're going to have required arguments, and these are going to be all of the properties that we define. So width, then required this dot devices height, then required and this dot is own message, then required and this dot message, and then required this dot sender. With this, what I'm going to do is that I'll do command save. Now that this is done, we're actually ready to define the build function for our widget chat ListView tile class. So I'm going to say that I'm going to create the build function, and our build function is going to return a container. So I'm going to do return a container. This container is going to have some properties. So let's just take it one at a time. The first property that I like to do is I'd like to add some padding. The padding is going to be edge and sets dot only, and then I'm going to say that it's going to be from the bottom and it's going to be 10. So only from the bottom apply a padding worth 10 pixels. Then I'm going to say width, which will be equal to the width property that gets passed in. With this, I'll define the child for our actual container, and that'll be a row. And the reason we're using a row because we need to input multiple widgets in a horizontal fashion, and that's why we're using a row. So with that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say the main axis size will be main axis size dot max. The main axis alignment will be main axis alignment, and then from there I'll do different main axis alignment depending upon who sent the message. So if the message is our own message, which is indicated by the is own message property, then we're going to have the alignment be main axis alignment dot end. And if it's not the case, then it's going to be main axis alignment, and then I'm going to do dot start. And with this, that's all the logic we have to do. And then for the cross-axis alignment, I'm going to do cross-axis alignment, and I'll do cross-axis alignment dot end. With this done, the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to define the actual children's list for our row. So what children's are going to be in the list. So the first children that we're going to have is going to be a rounded image, and the reason for that is that if somebody else sends a message, then we're going to add a rounded image. So to do that, I'm going to say that I'm going to add an exclamation mark, and I'm going to say is own message. So if the is own message is false, if it's not our own message, then we're going to be displaying this thing. So what are we going to be displaying? Well, we're going to display a rounded image network like this. And then this rounded image network is going to require a key, an image path, and a sign. So the key is going to be of type unique key. And then the image path is going to be our sender.image URL. And then the size is going to be the width times 0.04. And then I'm going to add the colon. And then I'm going to say that if that's not the case and it was an own message, that we'll just have an empty container and do Alt-Shift-F command, save. So that's the first child kind of edit. The next child is going to be a size box because I want to add some spacing. So if I go back to the completed version of our application and to the chat, so I want to add some spacing between this image and then the actual text bubble that we have. So that's why I'm actually adding a sized box. And this size box is going to have a width, and that width is going to be the width that gets passed in times 0.05. With this, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'll add my final last widget, which is going to depend upon the message and then its type. So if our message type is equals to message, and it's not doing that, message type dot text, then we're going to be using or showing a text message bubble. And if it's an image, then we're going to be using an image message bubble. So we do not have these two classes defined for now. So what I'm going to do is that I'll say that we'll just show a text widget for now. And inside of this, I'm going to say message.content. And I'm just going to, for the other things, say the same, that if the text, then I'm going to show message.context. And we'll come back and change these in the next video and do Alt-Shift-F command, save. So now with this done, I'm going to go back to the application that we were currently developing and make sure that our application restarts successfully. Then I'm going to go to my chat page. I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to make sure that my custom ListView tiles file is being imported. And with that, I'm going to go to the bottom where we actually render our text widget inside of our ListView builder, right here inside of our container. And I'm going to remove it completely. And I'm going to say that instead of rendering that, we're going to be rendering our custom chat ListView tile. And then we're going to pass in the devices height, which will be the devices height property. Then we're going to have a width, which will be the devices width, devices width times 0.80. We'll also have a message, which will be underscore message. And where do we get it from? Well, we do not define the message, so let's just define the method. So inside of our builder function, I'm going to say that we're going to have a variable of type chat message, and I'll call this underscore message, and I'll set that equal to our page provider dot messages exclamation mark and then the underscore index of whatever index we currently are on. And with this, I'm also going to define another property. I'll call it Boolean, and I'll call this underscore is on message, and I'll set that equal to our message dot sender ID is equal to our auth dot user dot UID. So if our logged in user's UID is the same as the message sender ID, then we know it's our own message. And then what I'm going to do is that for the message, I'll pass on this message variable, and then for his own message, I'll pass in the his own message variable, and then for the actual sender, I'm going to use this dot widget, and then from there I'm going to access our chat, and then from the chat I'm going to access the members list, and inside of there I'm going to do where call. So this is a where function, and what where does is that it takes every element and then it compares it with this condition, and if the condition turns out to be true, then it adds to a new list and then it returns that list to us. So I'm going to say that go through the members list for the chat, and for each member where the member.uid is equal to the message.sender ID, then you return that. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take the first element out of that list that gets returned to us and do command save. And with this, I'm going to add a comma here, Alt-Shift-F, and then I'm going to add a comma here and do Alt-Shift-F command save. And now if we see at the simulator, we can see this tiny picture of our actual person who actually sent the message, and then we can see the actual message here as well, which is in black. So with that, this video has been fairly long, so I'll close this video here. And then in the next video, we'll actually try to implement these two message bubble widget types that we need to create and then add to our actual custom chat ListView tile function. or class, sorry. So with that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.